I pledge allegiance to the
flag
flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any changes to the agenda tonight? Seeing none, and seeing that our student representative Dante is not in attendance tonight, we will move ahead to the superintendent's report.
All right, great, thank you. Happy New Year, everyone. Would it be okay if I took that screen for just a little bit of time, or just for a while anyway? Good.
Yeah, I'll take it back for the policies.
Sure. So, we've been on vacation for a couple of weeks, and so I figured, why not just start off with some controversy? No, really, I'm not presenting this because of controversy. I'm just actually putting this up for a different reason, and so this is the first type of accounting we've seen from the EFAs, the Educational Freedom Accounts, or the vouchers. It's not a shock. It's expected. The information that was received here, how the money's being used, where it's going, and how that's impacted or not impacted public education. I don't think we need to go through all of this. I just think that it would be good for people in the community to go, and whether it's this article or other articles around it, if you search for what is happening with your tax dollars and where it's going, there's a lot of information about the millions of dollars that are going to specific schools around the state. There's a nice paragraph here. The single largest payout for the 24-25 school year went to PCA over in the Dover area, followed by Trinity High School, Trinity Christian School in Concord, Concord Christian Academy, etc., Mount Royal Academy in Sunapee. So you can see them all at about $500,000 or so that they're getting, annually from these accounts. I'm sure that local school systems here have received boosts as well. My purpose in showing you this is not to complain about where these funds are going, or to have a controversial conversation around putting public money in religious institutions or anything like that. I think you probably know where I stand on that. It doesn't, what I think doesn't really matter. What I do think this does provide is just yet more examples of a couple different things. It provides an example of where New Hampshire has chosen to go in its direction around schooling. It's loosely, or maybe not, maybe a little bit more than loosely, it connects with the concept of school choice. It's a version of school choice that's out there. It can be considered, I believe they would consider it, this person who writes this article, a tax break for a specific group of individuals. The article goes on to say that these EFAs have not been pulling significantly from public schools. They're from people who are already attending these schools, or they're homeschooled people who are either using it for supplies or what have you at homeschool, or they're moving from homeschool into private educational areas. Again, we look at, this is the direction that the state has gone. What the state has not chosen to do is they have not chosen to take seriously as a legislative body. They have not taken seriously about fixing the actual funding issues of their local public schools. They, I think, take the EFA money and put it into career and technical education across this state. That would be brilliant. If they suddenly have, I don't know, did they say 50 million or something dollars? That would go a long way in helping more kids be able to access, kids from all over, all schools, not just public schools, access career and technical education that we know is very important, and that would be a really neat thing to do. Like I've said it, I think, once before. If you look at us, you look at a state like Delaware, where every kid has access, all the school systems have career and tech programs. They spend $90 million on a year, roughly, for career and technical education. I think we spend 9 or something like that. It's under 10 for the state of New Hampshire. It would be good for us to be active in our local governments to say we really would like our state to focus on something that we can be really strong at and really support it and figure out how to pay for it. At the same time, also figure out a way to help the communities, each taxpayer who owns homes in this state, to not have to flip the entire bills. It's just ridiculous. But this, again, the primary reason for me bringing this up here is that we have a warrant article tonight. That warrant article talks about choice. I still am behind being a school of choice, largely due to, I believe, the trends of the state of New Hampshire. I think that we have to realize that that's the case. I do think that the reality is that a lot of schools are going to go that route to stop their kids from going to other schools, and that's something that we also, I think, might be interested in as well. We know that we missed the boat on the CTE. That ship has sailed for now, and down the road, maybe there's some more work that can be done, and we can bring CTE back in here in a different type of way. But the law is such now that there is school choice for people who go to CTE programs. If one of our learners goes over, or 50 of our learners go over to, say, Keene or Milford or Alvern or Peterborough or where have you, Scenic, and take courses, and they want to stay for the rest of their day there, that is going to be on this community's dime. And so this budget this year, this round of negotiating with the community is an important year where the community, the school board, the schools, the towns, the town governments, it would be good to have some conversations about the future and thinking about the future and what we want our towns and schools to be. Because the payment for public education is going to continue to go on. The EFAs are not, they're not making things less for the public schools. You have the same number of public school kids going to public school. Whether they're educated here or whether they're educated somewhere else where their families, or down the road where their families choose to send them somewhere else because they think the other school systems are better, it's still going to be paid for by the taxpayers or whatever school funding formula there is, and right now, the taxpayers of our local communities. The only difference is at that point in time, with, in addition to travel and so forth, those types of things, you won't have a voice as to what's happening with your school systems. So I encourage us to be thoughtful as we approve tonight the first round of approval for warrant articles, for budget numbers, knowing that we've created something very special here, but we have a long way to go, and we have the capacity to do it right now, and we need to keep on having that capacity to do that as well. I believe that the community in this school district is always going to be fiscally conservative. I think that's what the community expects. But true fiscal conservative isn't not investing for the future. You invest for your future, and investing for the future not only improves your community and improves finances and financial situations and the economy for your local community down the road, it also can lessen the increases in the early in the years to follow. I made the example a decade ago when we switched to a different healthcare plan. That healthcare plan has proven over the years, the way we did it, the way we approached negotiations, the decisions, and they were hard decisions. None of it was fun. But I remember us being really smart and working with the associations and making some concessions on all sides that significantly put us in a better financial place for years to follow after that. The example of using our ESSER funds in a specific way to make sure that all of our schools have new and modern and healthy air systems and heating systems that, if we were to put that in now, would cost the community, and they have to be upkept, would cost, 12 million more than where we were at beforehand. So making wise decisions now can save you an extraordinary amount of money in the future. Making sweeping cuts saves you perhaps in the here and now, but can create larger problems down the road. And so we just all need to be thoughtful as we move forward. We all need to understand the educational landscape in New Hampshire and what it is. If we don't like that, we have to think about who we're putting into the legislature, who we're voting for, and what we want them to do in Concord. Any real change is going to happen at a different level other than our community level, because the community, what we're responsible for is our local taxes, and we can't do anything to change that. So if we want those changed, we have to think differently. So that's just my January 2026 first school board superintendent report. There are realities. We got to control what we can control. We got to think for our future. We got to do the best thing for our community. Got to the best thing for the community and the community's future, which involves our children here. This is a fascinating article.
And that article is from In-Depth New Hampshire, who has been very informative, very good about getting some, finding the places where the data is. It's very, very data-driven. So, yeah, I do recommend taking a look at In-Depth New Hampshire. Yeah.
Thank you. I just comment on the superintendent's report, maybe an idea or thought. The beginning of your slideshow, Ruben, you showed the In-Depth New Hampshire article. I think, as Lisa said, they've been doing a great job of reporting the facts.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned that you didn't want to be controversial. It wasn't your objective to, sow division or to make, and I would say that, of course not. I think what everyone needs to do is to report the facts, and that's what we're trying to get at. I've seen that article. In-Depth New Hampshire has written quite a few of them covering the EFAs and the charter schools, which are very separate. I don't think most people realize that the EFAs and the charter schools are two different, very different elements. I would say also that the local newspaper, the Monadnock Ledger Transcript, has done a great job thanks to their partnership with the Concord Monitor. So they have statewide reporters who have been doing investigative work covering the same area. And it's just way too much for us average citizens to take those articles and pull out the key facts and present them. But I think that's something that we can easily do. And I'd like to suggest that as a part of our strategy over this next 2.5 months, we do just that, or two months, I guess, until our budget is voted on. In particular, just a summary of how much money goes to these different costs, these different cost centers. to the EFAs. And the EFAs, how much of that goes to private schools, how much of it goes to home schools. There's nothing controversial about that. We're not making judgments on whether that's the right distribution, but the facts are out there and they need to be pulled out at a level where the average citizen can digest it. And it's not something we need to make up. This is all data that's provided by the state, and we should be, summarizing it. How spending in Jaffrey Ridge compares to other districts in the state. We've talked about that a lot. We talk about it all the time over the years that I've been on the board. But I think a flyer that actually shows that, where people can look at the numbers and say, okay, let me see if this is true, is something that we might consider. The SAU spending versus charter spending versus private school spending versus homeschool spending. Again, not to make judgments on any of this, but just so people can see. And how property valuations per student affect local property tax rates. Again, this is data that's out there. We don't produce it, the Department of Education does. But how many people are going to go to the Department of Education website, download the spreadsheets and analyze them? That's something that we can do. New Hampshire choices in funding schools. I've heard people tell me time and again that New Hampshire does not spend, that we're the lowest spending state on schools, and it's not true. We spend a ton, but it's spent at the local level, not at the state level. That's the difference. And when I say we spend a ton, we're not number one by any means, but we're not in the lower half as far as I know. We spend a lot of money, but it's coming a very small portion from the state, and then most of it from local communities. And with the property valuation differences, the low property valuation per student schools are getting, they're spending a lot more. And this is why we'll always have problems in towns like ours. No matter how much we prove that we're lower spending, people will say, well, why are my taxes so high? Well, this is why. And again, it's complex, but the numbers are something that we can pull out and make easier to digest. We've talked about how our schools are excellent and the evidence for that. We keep talking about it. People, I think, are not sure. Some people believe it. A lot of people believe this, but not everybody. And I think that we can put some kind of, again, I call it a flyer. I don't know if it's something we do online or something we do in print, but give people data that they can look at. What does U.S. News and World Report say? What does New Hampshire, School of Excellence organization say? And then give people the data that they can look at and say, okay, well, let me see if I believe this. Partnerships locally and across the state. And when I talk about now, I'm talking about, Keene State, Franklin Pierce, all the good stuff that's come out of those partnerships. But the partnerships across the state result in us getting some of these big grants that you have been able to pull in, the MTSSB money. So I'm just, and I'm finished, but I just wanted to say that they're looking at issues that are separate issues, but that people would perhaps want to read about or, have in their hand and say, well, is this true and how does this affect my thinking?
Thank you, John. Any further discussion on the superintendent's report before we head into budget discussion?
I guess I just want to make this one comment that it appears that in New Hampshire, now all schools, or at least some are publicly funded, but that very few types of learning require the accreditation and all the testing that we are required to provide.
That is an important fact. It's, I would have less personal, I said I wasn't going to talk about what my beliefs are. I struggle with public money going to institutions that do not have the same level of accountability. I don't care about whether they're private or not, whether they receive money or religious or not, but if they're going to receive public funds, they should be required to be held accountable to the same standards that the other school systems are held accountable. We are held to a much higher standard than all of them, which is great. I think we should be held to a high standard. But I think if you're receiving taxpayer dollars, you should be accountable to the taxpayers, and it should be made public. They certainly have no problem making all of public school information and data very public. I want to have all that other information as well. It's what's right.
All right, so we have some budget discussion. We had a very productive meeting in December where we outlined the warrant articles as we wanted, and asked a very hard ask of the superintendent to cut some money. We have a hearing coming up this Thursday. That hearing will be, and correct me on the time, I believe it's at 6:30, and it's at Ringe Memorial School. So,
A week from Thursday.
it's a week from Thursday, not this Thursday?
The 15th.
The 15th, thank you. So on the 15th, that's is our next meeting, and that will be at Ringe Memorial School, and that will be the full budget hearing, where we, like, everything is done for deliberative session to get printed, ready to go. So we are still in the discussion stage. And do you have updates for us, or on the for the budget at all? Any?
No, I think that the school board, what I would say is the school board, I don't know if you voted per se last time. I think you're going to decide, there was a number that was put out there last time, which was when we, after putting the activity, we had already reduced activities and athletics. We had, and put that in play, we had committed to making sure that the unforeseen costs of school care we're going to figure out a way to do that this year. We indicated that any other costs were going to be, as a result, any cuts would be personnel related. The board, as of last session, decided to put pre-K, the 4-year-old pre-K, back into the budget, as well as the athletics and activities, and then removed about $300,000 from what we said would cost for that. So I am not prepared at this point in time, because I think there are too many moving parts to being locked into how to get that $300,000. I can tell you that I have met with the administrators, with people in the central office and so forth. We've looked through our lines. Very confident that we could probably get about $50,000 of that with not personnel, not in areas that I think are advisable, but we could do it. And then we'd have $250,000 that would be personnel related. Saying where that would be, that I think that's too premature to say that, but that's just what it would be, and we'd have to have more conversations in the future. If the default budget were to come into play, that's an entirely different world. Yeah.
Okay.
And so, yeah, that's the thought process behind that.
All right. Are there any, I think for this budget discussion, it would be helpful if any of the board members had a last kind of, I don't know, whether it be a recommendation or a question before our budget hearing, where we'll hear much more detail again, kind of reiterate what we've been doing. But does anybody, after thinking about it for the last
Do you
few
want me to
weeks,
put the warrant article up with it, with the numbers? Would that be helpful?
I don't know.
For the conversation?
I'm not sure we need to.
Okay.
I think, does anybody need, do we need anything further before the budget hearing is my question.
I guess if I could, I'd be interested in seeing the updated tax impact. I know we had reviewed that, but I assume that's on maybe the draft warrant article. But we haven't seen that since we came up with this other number. I kind of think I know what it is, but I think it'd be helpful to look at.
So that'll be right here, that's good. So the 33.5 was the number that the board had landed on, was a soft land, but had landed on last time, so we used that number in this warrant article. The default budget is what it has been. And then if you go down to that area, the estimated tax impact of passing this article is an increase of $1.95 per thousand for Jaffrey, and an increase of $1.14 per thousand for Ringe. And then the estimated tax impact of not passing the article is $1.22 per thousand for Jaffrey, and 59 cents per thousand for Ringe. A lot of that has to do with the difference in the increases, like we said, has to do with loss of revenue, mostly, I would say mostly due to the new property evaluations. We no longer are really perceived by at least the state to be low income. So,
Which just continues to shock me when you drive
Yep.
through Jaffrey, but I understand it's because we haven't reduced our poverty so much as we built more expensive homes.
when you do that, I mean, it's why it really takes a lot of planning going forward. I don't think it's a bad thing to build expensive homes. You just have to know that when you start to do that, that changes the look of a community, and it makes other homes that maybe aren't by themselves worth as much in a normal situation, worth more because of who you're going to be able to attract from out of state, perhaps. You know, my advice is to say, okay, that's the new type of normal here. How do we, as a community and as a school district, get together and plan for a future that is going to be communities that that are in this type of light within the state, within this region, and ones that are going to have high property values. There are models out there in the state that have done it right, but it takes schools and community working together to really be smart.
All right, anything further on this? So we'll wait for the budget hearing. And I would like to hear from, now it is time for public comments, I believe, so I would like to hear if anybody has input from the public, specifically on the budget, but really on anything that we've been talking about. So we will open up to public comments. We, again, have our norms written on the agendas that I'm assuming are up. And if we could put up the public comment policy, that'd be great. And as a reminder, anybody speaking needs to use the microphone. Please give name, town of residence.
Hi, Carlene Walter, Ringe. Can you just clarify where the EFA money is coming from? It's not coming from the property tax, from my understanding. It is from lottery and hotel tax, things like that. Is that correct?
I don't know the complete answer to the question of where the money's coming from. I think that they have reported that it's coming from the Education Trust Fund. Is that at the state level?
Yeah, it comes from the Education Trust Fund, which is the same pool of money where public schools get their education and charter schools get their education money. So it's the same pool of money that the state pays to public schools and charter schools.
Very little of education, regardless of what funds you're talking about, is paid through lottery or anything of that nature. That's, you know, I do think that there is I talked to someone else today, a perception that there's an incredible amount that's, you know, brought to the schools from there. I do think when Sununu first got into the office, he talked about, is it Keno or something? I don't know.
For kindergarten.
Yeah, for kindergarten, I think that might still be in place for half-day kindergarten.
Essentially, it's the same bucket of state money.
Alicia Stennerson Jaffrey. I don't really have any
Alicia, I'm
comment.
sorry, I can't hear you.
Alicia Stennerson Jaffrey. Is that better? No. I don't really have a comment related to the budget discussion. I'm interested to hear the board talk more, but I did have a point of clarification I wanted to ask regarding deliberative session. From the school board calendar, it looks like it's scheduled to start at 6:30, but I got an email from a different group in the community today, and they were saying it starts at 6. So I just wanted to be really clear about the start time, so that we can make sure we can encourage folks to attend.
Put that up on the screen. Would it be in the calendar?
I came to the winter showcase, and there was a flyer announcing that the meeting started at 6 o'clock, and an identical version of the flyer saying 6:30. And believe me, it threw some of us off a little bit.
Yeah, that would do it. So there is no time on that.
6:30 p.m.
Let me see that. See what-
Third column. That's the
Got it.
4th of February,
4th of February.
Wednesday. Pride Auditorium, 6:30 p.m.
Okay.
And I think we talked about it, and the question was there, that Thursday, the 15th, is that budget and bond hearing, followed by the school board meeting, is RMS cafeteria at 6:30.
Can I just ask a follow-up? Do we know yet if there will be childcare provided at both the budget hearing and deliberative?
I don't believe we've had anyone come forward for childcare for the 15th yet. That's usually a much smaller showing of people, and because there's no vote there for voters, we will most likely have childcare for the deliberative. We always do. It's not actually very well utilized. I think we have, a few kids every single year use it, but we do have that. But I'm getting information now, so let me find out if I'm wrong. No, so the deliberative is currently being worked on. There has been no discussion about having it for the hearing.
Thank you.
Nick Hill, Jaffrey. Can you just explain what happens at the budget hearing? I guess I'd be curious as to what the details of that look like.
Yeah, very good question. Yeah. So at the budget hearing, that's where everything becomes final. And so any further, the public is invited to come and discuss what we have been working on and deciding. So right now, Ruben had used the word soft decision. We've made our decisions. They are soft. They are not set in stone. The budget hearing is when we do that. So it's kind of the last chance for the public to have a say in what the board is going to bring to deliberative. Then deliberative comes and it's when the public can say, well, this is also what we want. And so public's comments in both, decisions are made in both, but the board pretty much finalizes what's going to be on the deliberative ballot. Anything?
Any changes that are going to be made to any of those warrant articles has to be made during that budget hearing, and then the board has a meeting, an actual board meeting directly following, and they take a poll on each warrant, like who supports this, so that you often see on the bottom supported 700 or something to that effect, or not recommended by the board, 016. So I guess it would be 061. Yeah.
Alex, anybody online?
I see no raised hands online.
That sounds good. All right.
I have a question that I'm just going to add right now before I forget it. I think everyone's doing a fantastic job getting the word out that people should be at the deliberative session and be prepared to vote. Last year, our mess gym was really full, and I'm wondering what happens if we are at overflow capacity. I know people have to be in the room to vote.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'd have to have satellite spaces
Okay.
in here, which we've done before.
And then that would count.
They have to vote inside the voting area,
Okay.
and so we'd have to figure that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
been there for that.
yeah, they'd have to sign in, and you know better than anyone the way that the supervisors of the checklists
Yeah.
handle things.
Check everybody in.
Yeah.
And you can register to vote, but boy, are there hoops to registering to vote then. So please bring all your documentation if you're going to register to vote that day. Just public service announcement. And no absentee voting for the deliberative. All right. Cool. No further public comment at this time? Cool. We'll have another session toward the end. Let us move on in our agenda. Before we do, there was you mentioned the keynote for kindergarten, and it reminded me of something I wanted to comment on. I've been watching reading a lot of school board minutes from our local school districts, mostly wanting to kind of focus on the open enrollment issue, which every single school district is dealing with. And nearly all are putting on their ballots, and nearly all are putting 0 for sending students. So there's a lot of cohesion in what's happening in New Hampshire, not just locally. But so it's been really helpful kind of looking at other school districts, what they're deciding right now. But in doing that, it was very eye-opening because, yes, they're having the exact same conversations we're having, the exact same struggles. But some of the school districts, a couple of them, weren't deciding, do we have preschool? They were deciding, do we have full-day kindergarten? And they were going back down to half-day kindergarten due to budget cuts. And those are local school districts. Those are some things around near us. And that was eye-opening for me. That somehow it doesn't occur to me that that's actually an option, and I'm sorry that it is. But all of our rural school districts are truly under fire right now, truly struggling. So we are not alone in any piece of what we're doing right now. This is across the board. And I'll talk more about some legislation stuff when we have board matters in a bit.
I do have some other update information that I was just provided. Regarding,
We're still in public comments. We'll let
regarding
get out.
regarding the Pratt deliberative session and the seating and so forth, capacity in the Pratt is 700. So that would be with chairs and bleachers. So we could get up to 700 people there. So about 650 voters and other setup
Okay. Would it be possible, I was curious, would it be possible to discover the number of people that attended last year's deliberative session? I know that the
Attend or
supervisors.
vote?
Uh,
We have the
Well,
vote.
we only have the vote, because the supervisor of the checklist gave the numbers,
Mhm.
so we only have the people who registered, so, but I don't have those numbers, we gave them to you guys, so at some point, if,
Yeah.
you know,
You can get that.
whatever. All right, okay, let's move back to the agenda, if you don't mind. Not helpful text. Let's do that.
You can't see that?
Okay, we're on to the consent agenda, which has manifests, it has payroll, it has a budget transfer from athletic mats to track, no donations, 3 nominations, including a night custodian, and, tell us about the finance manager.
Okay. So, so the James Huff actually started today, nighttime custodian, but he's doing a week of training in the daytime. So we're excited about him. And then Abigail Holmes is going to be if the board accepts this position, she would start next Monday. And she would be replacing Leanne Clean. Leanne Clean has been faithful finance manager for many years, and she has taken a different job. And actually, just before the school board meeting, we went out, celebrated, had say goodbye, and but she'll be helping with. We believe she'll be helping with some transition with this. Has already during the vacation done some of that. Abigail Holmes would be coming to us from Keene State, and has a finance manager background, and we're very excited to have her on our team. I know that Carrie is excited, and I think the entire business office is, and we're also very pleased to have found an individual with such great skills in the time frame that we did. That was good.
Phenomenal,
Yeah.
good, okay. And we have a stipend list. All right, do we have a motion to accept the consent agenda? And Sandy, hopefully you're there, and we will be including you in this vote. So we will do a motion, and then we'll do a roll call vote. So, motion?
Can we hold on a second? I don't think we ever got Leanne's resignation. It's not in the last 2 agendas. I remember it wasn't signed.
Okay.
We can get that to you.
Okay.
We'll have to get it to you. I don't have it.
Okay.
Cool. All right, good call, Christine. All right, is there a motion to accept the consent agenda?
Yes.
Thank you, Christine. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Chris. We're going to do a roll call vote. Charlie?
Aye.
Judy? Aye. John?
Aye.
Christine?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Sandra?
Just trying.
Aye.
Thank you. And I say aye. Passes 7-0-0. Thank you. And then we'll go on to the minutes for the December 6th meeting. Yes.
With Christine's conversation and statement in mind, and Carrie, you might have to help me with this. I could pull up a copy of the resignation without the signature, but to find out. But could we accept Leanne's resignation formally right here, knowing that this was her last day today? Today was the last day, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So if the board could accept Leanne's resignation effective today, that would be good, especially as you accepted the position to be filled, that would just be a good thing to do.
All right. Is there a motion to accept the resignation of Leanne
Killeen?
I will make that motion.
Thank you, Christine. And John, you second?
Second.
Okay. Charlie?
Aye.
Judy?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Christine?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Sandy?
Aye.
And I say aye. Passes 7-0-0. Thank you for that detail.
The effective date is January 5th.
today.
Okay. All right. On to the minutes of December 6th. Is there a motion to accept those minutes?
I move we accept the minutes for December 6th as presented.
Thank you, Sandra. Is there a second? Yes. Are you saying you second? Thank you, Christine. All right. Any discussion on those minutes? Okay, Charlie?
Aye.
Judy? John?
Aye.
Christine?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Sandy?
Aye.
I say aye. That passes 700. Minutes from December 15th. I think everybody was here for both of these. I might be wrong. So is there a motion to accept the minutes from December 15th? Thank you, Charlie. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Judy. And we'll go backwards this time. Sandy?
Aye.
Thank you, Chris?
Aye.
Christine?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Judy?
Aye.
Charlie?
Aye.
And Lisa says aye, so it passes 700. Discussion item, I wanted to put on here the deliberative session planning. I know we have the hearing coming up and we have another meeting, but I kind of just wanted to have, you know how we set our norms for budget meetings? Deliberative got pretty messy last year, and I want to make sure that we are all on a good page for heading into this, and going to just continue our norms. And if there's discussion about how we want to organize warrant articles, we can do that at a later time or now. Charlie, do you have a?
If all we're going to talk about is warrant articles, then that's fine. If we're going to talk about management of the meeting, we can't do that. That's a Bob Shawman issue. He runs the thing, and whatever rules he has the legislative body adopt is the way it's going to happen. So.
Yeah. Well, there was a piece that I was thinking about, which is why I wanted to put it up there, to have people kind of thinking about. So it's not something that needs to be set in stone at all at this point. It's something I would like you guys to consider. We have done something very unique this year in having so much of our budget discussion about the departments outside of our budget season, so that we have videos documented of hours and upon hours of data and witnessing and testimony and progression and where our money is going, which is something that I again, in my school board rambles right now, I'm not seeing anybody else has ever done this, where they take the year and say, this is now all right there for you. And something that I see happening at deliberative session is we might be, in the past, what I've seen is we spend a great deal of time having those same discussions, kind of redoing what we did this year. And I would like to shorten our deliberative, basically is what I'm saying. I feel like the people coming have had so much opportunity to see where this money's going that I'd like to stick with real details, but not have long descriptions and long PowerPoints. Sorry, Ruben, but I don't want to have lots of, I would like to keep it very data driven and not have real long descriptions of what we do at each school and what we do in each program. I'm feeling like we can direct people to the videos. And so that is something that I'd like the board to consider, is keeping it really pared down. I don't know, it's something to think about. That was why I wanted to bring this up.
You can present what you want when you present the warrant article. You can put as much or as little in there as you want. You can put as much focus on certain areas as you want. I mean, that's the latitude that you have at deliberative session, is when you're presenting that warrant article, is to present what it is that you want to present to the public. So I see no problem with whoever's presenting that warrant article doing whatever it is that you're talking about.
Anybody else have thoughts on how you want to see this go from our stands?
I think your desire to keep things, moving and to the point, I think is a good idea. But having said that, we don't want to be in the position of replaying those videos, and some people, will never have access to them. So if the presenter has a piece of data from their video, we shouldn't try and suppress that. Yes.
Of course. Chris, I think Chris is...
Yeah, I do think, agree with the overall sentiment. I think we need to be really selective about what we include in there. I think there's a balance, right? You don't want to make it appear as if you're not sharing enough information for people to vote. But I think what I hear from most people is that, they want to show up, hear the information, and vote. And, this is important. I know we're used to long meetings. We're there all night, but, many people aren't. So there's a balance there. But I think I agree with your sentiment that keeping it fact-based, numbers and to the point, and then, move to the discussion and questions. Because it's really their opportunity, right? We've been talking and talking and talking. It's another opportunity to get feedback and then vote. We've kind of done our work at that point.
And I think that's exactly, like, the deliberative really is the time people come out to voice their opinion, voice their comments. That needs to be the priority of the night. We've done everything we can to showcase what we do. That really needs to be their time to have their voice. So I guess, I want to be respectful of everybody's time. I want to be respectful that it's a school night and that parents are vested in this and need to be able to come and need to be able for it to be a reasonable meeting for them. So I guess that's my thoughts in it. That's all. All right. Yes, John?
Just curious, is there more that we can put out prior to the meeting so that people have, numbers or data that they can look at and, mull over? Because if they come to the meeting and get a handout, it's kind of hard when you're listening to people also to read a document. So I don't know if we can. I'm not suggesting we put our full presentation out beforehand, but maybe some summary of it.
I'm wondering I'm not sure, I'll answer in part and then ask everybody else. I'm not seeing a lot of comments. I'm not getting a lot of questions. I think we've really been really transparent and stuff. The fact that we're Facebook Live, I believe, right now. I think we've been really at the forefront of getting information out there. I think the deliberative is going to be the time when we really hear those questions. So I'm not sure how to find it out before then. I don't know if the hearing will give us much. We generally don't have a big turnout for the hearing. So it's almost like we kind of have to wait till that deliberative last minute thing and then take that time before March 10th to really use that to help communicate. I think that might be our time frame for that. So I was thinking about doing like a Facebook Live again where we kind of answer questions from the public, but I'm almost thinking that actually needs to wait till after the deliberative, after we find out, what we're actually presenting on the ballot, I don't know, that's my thought. Let me go to Sandy real quick and then we'll see if other people have input. Sandy, do you have anything to add to this?
No, I don't think so, but I am questioning if maybe you could do a brief Facebook thing before the deliberative session. Just a brief one.
Okay, let's do one between the budget hearing and deliberative then. I can do that.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I'm fine doing that. I think any chance we can have for the public to feel confident just coming forward and giving their input is more than welcome. And I think we did have a pretty good attendance when John and I did that before in August. So We can do that we'll do that after the budget hearing before deliberative. We can schedule that.
Perfect.
Yeah. Anybody else?
I just think what people will want to know, just overall questions, right? There's a lot of detail that we go through that, from beginning to end, that doesn't matter at this point where we kind of are where we're at. And I think people will want to understand what the number is, right? And what it includes. And I think the issues are very much the same still as last year. So this is the 33.5 million, and it restores athletics and activities, it restores the preschool program, and largely, I guess be careful how you say it, keeps the district running essentially as it is today. And there's some more detail that you could add there, but I think the public in general, I'm guessing that those are the questions they're going to have. What's in this budget? It includes, the preschool and the athletics and activities. What's in the default? The default does not include the preschool and the athletics and activities. I mean, that's the 20,000-foot version of a very detailed budget process, but that's the difference between the two numbers. And again, some other minor differences, but I think those are the major points that the public needs to understand, and then we can go from there.
Let's go. All right. Anything further on this topic? Yes, Judy.
I just think we have to highlight to the public the fact that so much of our budget is concerned with things that are state and federally mandated, and that when they look at us and say, wow, you're spending so much money, that a lot of that we have no choice about. We have to provide services to, special ed students. We have all kinds of things we have to provide, and it's legally mandated. And we have to stress that we aren't being frivolous about our spending, because as someone coming in here new this year, I definitely thought at first, oh wow, you guys are, just throwing money everywhere. But it's like once you get into it and see how tightly everything is budgeted, we have to really stress to people that we have cut everything to the bone, and we are just doing what's essential, and just let them know how stingy we're being, and we just want to hold on to the important things for our kids.
All right. Good. All right. Next, we have action items. Field trip approval for CMHS to go to the Dominican Republic in April. Can you put that up on that? What is the FNE Foundation? I'll look to you, John.
FNE is Facilitate, Network, and Empower. It's the organization that Interact has traveled with for the last 11 years, I think.
Is there a motion to approve the trip to the Dominican Republic? for
I'll
the
make that
Interact
motion.
Group? Thank you, Chris. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Christine. And we'll do a roll call vote. Charlie?
Aye.
Judy?
Aye.
John?
I'll abstain.
Christine?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Sandy?
Aye.
And I say aye. Passes 7-0-0. And yep.
He abstained.
What?
601, John abstained.
Oh, you abstained. I'm sorry, I didn't
Yeah,
catch that.
yeah.
Yep, 6-0. Yep. Thank you. And then we have a request to waive facility fees for the Jaffrey Grade School usage for the Jaffrey Cub Scouts. That was put in differently. Okay. So their meetings through January through February. Perfect, weekly, awesome. Is there a motion to accept this request to waive facility fees?
I will make that motion.
Thank you, Christine. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Judy. Charlie?
Aye.
Judy?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Christine?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
And Sandra?
Aye.
And I say aye, that passes 700. Warrant articles? Okay. All right, so this is our warrant articles. Is this something that we want to wait until the hearing to vote on?
I think you want to vote to put these forward to the hearing so that you say, this is what we're presenting, this is what we believe needs to go forward, and then from there, you take whatever feedback you get and you can amend these if you so desire.
Okay.
But you definitely, at this point in time, should, as a board, know where you want to be and
Okay.
be strong about.
I guess I thought we were doing that at the hearing, but it makes good sense.
Well, you will.
Yeah.
You will do it again. But what we don't need to do here right now is say, all right, this is supported by the board 701 or anything like that. Well, there is no 701 because we don't have 8 people on the board, but you get the idea.
Yes, we get
So-
the idea. So let's go through each one. This is Article 1.
The first one right here, this is just a conversation. You don't have to vote on that. Second session of the annual meeting, just talking about where things are, what time. Article 1, can't do a whole lot about that either. What will happen is there will be, this on the actual voting ballot, there will be names or a name. We don't know yet what that's going to look like, but we have a moderator, which is a year-by-year term, and then we have a Ringe school board member and a Jaffrey school board member, both 3-year terms. So Article 2 is really the first one. If the board wants to move forward with this, you can change the number now if you were interested in doing so. You obviously have another opportunity to after or during the hearing, and then vote on that afterwards as to whether you like it or not. And then the default budget is what the default budget is.
Let's stay there for a minute.
Stay right here.
All right, let's talk about this. So at the last meeting, the board asked Ruben to, Ruben had suggested a number, or through the process, the number was given, and the board majority asked him to remove about $300,000 from that, in the knowledge that that would affect personnel, that there simply would be no way to do that without cutting personnel. And we don't, honestly, at any point, need to know what personnel, if that happened. Like, we give a number, we don't micromanage personnel like that. But does anybody want to change? Like, again, this is the soft decision time. Has anybody thought over the last few weeks, I want to go higher, I want to go lower, I want to change the number that we are putting forward at the budget hearing?
And just for information, again, I've said it already, I'll just reiterate. We looked at the numbers. We believe that it's really no different than what I said before. Paint and carpeting, if you wanted to remove that from the budget for another year, that's around $50,000, because we did already take some out of that from the original. And then it's about $250,000, $250,000 in personnel. I think there are differences of opinion on the board as to where that could come from a personnel standpoint. What I don't want is for us to be saying, I want, we're going to cut this group, or we're going to cut this group, or anything like that. I think there's a lot that can happen in between now and the vote. I would advocate for not cutting personnel at this stage of the game. I think getting back to where we are functioning in a positive way and in a way that keeps morale in a good spot, that would be my thought. So maybe not the 300, maybe, the 250, but again, 33,500,000 is significantly more helpful to the school district than 31,991,442, and we've, we would need time just to figure out what the best solution would be.
So I'm opening it up to the board. Does anybody wish to change change the 33,500,000 number before the budget hearing? Okay, so we will ask the board to do a vote on placing Article 2 as written on the budget hearing notification, publication, whatever you call it. And I'll go around any discussion before I do that. Okay, so what we are saying now is yes or no to putting Article 2 as written forward for the budget hearing. And I'll start with Charlie.
Aye.
Judy?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Christine?
Aye.
It's all in timing.
Joyful sound.
Are they coming forward?
Yeah.
We'll pause for a moment. Oh, I wish the audience could see this. All right, we had a musical interlude, and now we're on to...
Kept it.
I'm done with the musical interlude. Okay. And Christine, could you please repeat?
Aye.
Aye. Chris?
Aye.
Sandra?
Aye.
And I say aye. Passes 7-0-0. Article 3.
This is an article that you don't have information for, and so just know that we're going to have an article on there, potentially, for a contract. It could be 3 years, it could be 2 years, it could be 1 year, it could be 4 years. We don't know. We just typically, we have 3-year contracts. But what you should know is that while we're going into a negotiation tomorrow, we're at mediation level with the JRSSA, the Jaffrey Ringe Support Staff Association. If we come out with a tentative agreement, then that would go to the association for ratification. Once that happens, it would come back to the board. We would likely, on the evening of this, have to have a conversation about whether we accept that and want to put that into the warrant article, so we would get those numbers that evening for this type of thing. But
When you mean that evening, the 15th?
yeah, we got to give time for others to, ratify. If we were to come to an agreement tomorrow, it could be that we get close and that we still need another day or something. So we don't have a time frame yet, but that would be the tentative time frame, would be making sure we have all that information by that time frame, yes, and accepting it.
Can I just make a comment?
Yes, sir. Just state your name, Carrie, for them. Yeah.
Carrie Shields, employee of the district. The legal, according to the RSA, any collective bargaining agreements must be finalized by January 13th. So whether that means they have to be ratified by January 13th or not, I'm not certain. I'm just I pulled up the calendar So the deadline to finalize is January 13th, which is 2 days prior to the budget hearing. I
think
don't
that does
know if
mean
that
ratify,
means we'll have
but-
to have a,
Yeah, if I'm remembering right, that does mean ratified as well, and board approved.
And board approved. Yep, that means,
So all three have to happen before
okay,
the 13th.
so, there you have it.
So do we have to have a special meeting then?
You know, it's really been kind of sad this year. We haven't had a whole lot of, special emergency school board meetings. I've been missing them, so.
Oh, the sense of humor. Cool. All right, so that is the 13th?
So we'll
Has
have
to be
to,
done by
yeah,
then.
so we'll be in touch with trying to get a meeting together. Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you, Carrie, for that.
Thanks a lot, Carrie. And we'll have estimated budget impacts for every year that the contract will be for. So that's, you can see that. Article 4 just is the typical, if that doesn't pass, can we meet again and come up with a solution? And then Article 5 is the open enrollment language. So this one was one that I think that if you're going to if you go forward with this, I do believe it's a way to protect your own district, but also to be able to potentially have some revenue for your own district and for I think it's a smart thing for the future. Because I do think things are going to change from an open enrollment standpoint down the road, but we'll see. But this is where I think that people will get confused, and there will need to be a fair amount of conversation and presentation about what this implies or what this means or what this could mean. And it's probably more what this could mean than anything else. I think a lot of districts are having the same conversation in our region. Some maybe not because they want to have anybody, but it's because they don't want their kids to leave, and that's fine. This is the year to do that after that court decision.
All right, so let's do a vote of putting this on. Right now, the numbers given, admitting up to 300, that's a lot. I mean, we want to be able to be open. I will say that every school district, and at least 6 school districts that I've watched in New Hampshire are putting this on their ballot and are putting 0 for students leaving. This is very common right now, in great part because A, there's legislation looking to universalize this, and B, we simply don't know what this will look like. This gives us the biggest safety net in a new world, in a new endeavor. This gives us a safety net. This is a one-year thing. Like, this is something that we can keep looking at as we go forward. But I do recommend that we try to keep in alignment with the other school districts around us. That will, I feel like that's the best way to move forward in something as vague as this. So I would recommend that we put this on the ballot, but it is open to discussion if we want to change numbers now for putting it on the hearing ballot, but not the ballot, but the hearing notification. Yes, Christine?
Is it typical to sort of just have that upper limit number? Like Kearsarge, I thought, had a very specific number.
I think it's more typical to have a percentage, or to have it
I thought we had to have
little
a
less.
number
Yeah,
leaving, but a
And then-
percentage.
you're right,
coming.
you're right. But I haven't seen that much of a number, but,
Okay.
yeah, I also don't know 300 means we have the space for that. Now, what I think I've also seen per grade, this is like 10 students per grade, is what I've seen in a couple districts doing, rather than a generic number. And it's all per capacity, of course. So yeah, I'm not
What
sure.
the board would have to do is they would then have to, the reason why we wanted to leave it a little looser than that, because that changes from year to year. 300s, and we know we have capacity of that, because of looking at our enrollment over the past several years. We don't have capacity necessarily at Ringe Memorial. Can we handle 300? Nope. Can we handle that at Jaffrey Grade School? No. Can we handle it if we have 20 at Jaffrey Grade School, 30 at Ringe Memorial School, and, and it then, 10 at each grade level through the middle and high school? Yes. So that does not add up to 300, I don't believe, but the point of the matter is, or even 20, but the idea is that it can be spread out that way. And you could look at, from year to year, sometimes we have bubble years where they're too big. We don't have capacity for that. We have some years where it's smaller. You might say, well, we could double our capacity for that if we wanted to. Yeah. So it gives you, but it's all going to be your selection criteria and everything is going to have to be done in policy. And the attorney indicated that we had to have a number for the max of what you receive and a percentage for those individuals going. Some people are saying that they'll allow, a certain percentage out to go to kindergarten in another location if they wanted to, or something like that. You can do just about anything. You can make it very specific.
In the efforts of transparency for people, I would hate for people to see the number 300 and start doing math of how much money we make. I could see that kind of mentality. So personally, I'd like to see it 100 students, something that, I don't think we would ever get that. And if we did, then we can increase it. But I think something a little more reasonable for what we could possibly do makes better sense. And
You put 100 in a warrant article that the legislative body approves, the school board's not going to be able to change that.
So you're saying if we get more than 100 kids,
I'm saying that if you put a warrant article out there that says that you can accept up to 100 kids, that's all you're going to accept. You can't come on later on and say, well, we're going to accept 101.
oh, we can the next year.
If you put it in a warrant article, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Judy?
I think some people were upset about the statement that we were going to permit 0% of the resident student population to be eligible to enroll outside the district, because that, I think, we don't really understand the implications of all of this, but I know it sounds bad, so I don't know if we don't want to rethink that statement somehow.
So a couple ways of looking at it, just from my perspective, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Is that we believe that we have a school district that has, is the strongest district for our learners here. We know that we have programming that's going on here, and we're looking to increase our programming that is different than all other districts in our region. We know that we are going to be either ahead of the game with the new Ed 306 regulations, because we've been working on this for the past 6 to 8 years, especially at the middle high school level. We have very different behavior and cultural programming than other school districts in our region have. We know that our data says that is the case. So we have some alluring elements to that, and we've created a culture that, for the purpose of building capacity for the Jaffrey and Ringe communities. We care about our kids being here. We want them to be here. That's why we would suggest not permitting individuals to go out. Now, that being said, this does not stop what is already in place. And what that is that students, learners who go to CTE courses in other places, and that's several other locations, and we have to give them access to that. We have to provide transportation to that. That's all costs now that are going out, and that has been a cost. But what's changed now is that school choice is now law for those kids, and there is nothing that the school district can do about it or to stop that. So that's not even included in this. So there is school choice already for a large number of our learners should they go the CTE route. Now, I believe most will choose to remain within their school and come back and not take part and be part of something else. But if they're going to travel a long distance, like Alvern, for instance, we have that this year. it might be the best thing for them, and they'll have that option, and we will pay for it. Yeah.
The issue that I have heard, all right, is from people who homeschool saying they're not going to be able to homeschool anymore because they have to send their kids to school. Okay, that's the issue with that 0%. All right, is the fact that you're saying that kids will have to attend. No one can leave the school. If you look at the wording on this thing,
Yeah, the wording
it's
is-
very confusing to homeschoolers and people who have EFAs and so forth. But the issue that I see or heard is from parents who are doing homeschooling, saying, hey, look, I can't do homeschooling anymore, but I have to send my kids to school because I can't.
We don't have the power to do
Yeah.
that sort of thing. This has
I
nothing-
absolutely understand that.
Right.
But what I'm talking about is
That's what it looks
is the
like.
public.
Yeah.
Well, we'd have to, I mean, people have to, like, I'm sorry, people have to do some homework and start to think. My God, people have to think. So we cannot overturn the massive amount of legislation that's out there that is, has been lobbied and put into place by homeschool populations. Fine, they are what they are. EFAs, they're separate. They're all separate from this. What it does do is if a homeschooler, for instance, wanted to go to a public school outside of the district, this would prevent that. So if they want to go to public school, if they want to say, you know what, homeschool, that was a good option for us. It was great. We did well for a while. High school, there's an awful lot of things going on. I have some other kids that I really want to focus on or what have you. I think I would like to send them to a public school because we think that in our family situation is the best choice right now. Or we want to give our kids the choice to do that. We have a lot of that happening. That if they wanted to do that, they would not be able to say, but I'd really like to go over to, Fall Mountain or Claremont or Keene or somewhere. It would be, they'd come to the Jaffrey Range, their public school, their local public school. That's what that would say. And we can certainly give information out, and we should put things out. If we know that that's the question, then we should probably answer that within writing that we put out there. I think that's absolutely essential. But we have got to, if this language causes people to think that of those sorts of things, people do have the responsibility to find out the truth.
Yeah, and I agree that the wording is a bit confusing. I understand it.
Mm-hmm.
And the way I think about it, and the way I've tried to explain it to people that have asked, is that, in New Hampshire, you can basically do whatever you want with your kids. The school district can't tell you where to send your kids, what to teach them, anything, right? But maybe exaggerating a little bit,
Pretty
but
close.
it's pretty close to that, right?
Yep.
So absolutely, parents' rights, you can choose where your kids go to school, or if they don't go to school, whatever. This just, to me, is a protective measure for our district that we don't have to pay, the district doesn't have to pay for it. So you can send your kids to Conval if you want, just like you can today if you want to tuition them over there.
Yeah, doesn't change.
But the school district wouldn't be responsible for that. So those options are still on the table. To me, and I know I spoke about some of the negatives against it at maybe the last meeting, but similarly to Lisa, I've kind of looked at what other districts are doing, certainly with what you said, Ruben, last time, and I see it being really just a protective measure for our district that we're already fighting so many headwinds. This one, just may be the one to, the straw that breaks the camel's back, something like this. I think we have to put that 0% number in there and then just explain what it is. You can do what you want, but it just doesn't put the district on the hook to pay for it.
Sandra, do you have input on this?
I feel the same way that Judy does. I'm in agreement with this article, but what I'm hearing from people is, what do you mean? If I want to send my kids someplace else, you're not going to let them go?
Yeah. That's,
I did see that same comment on the Facebook Live comments from our last meeting was, how dare they tell us what I can do with our children, and Chris's point is correct, that no one's telling you where your children can be educated or not educated. The question is who's going to pay for that.
Okay. So let's do a voice vote, a roll call vote for Article 5, placing as is, or do we want to change? Charlie, you wanted to keep it 300 students?
I don't have a problem with it.
Okay. Anybody else have an opinion
Either
on
way,
it?
I don't have a problem with it.
But you made a good point.
Sorry, John, you can go first if
John,
you want.
Chris, Sandy, I think, yeah, good.
So, just listening to this discussion, the perception that people think we're going to try and lock them into this school, or worse yet, make home school students come here. I don't think you can blame people for their perceptions. They are what they are, and there's multiple reasons why people haven't heard all the arguments that the school board made or that the statements that the superintendent made. I don't know how we can fix this so that people are clear, but if we can add some language to the article saying, this does not affect homeschool students, or, it does not prevent parents from doing what they want, it just protects the district from having to pay. I don't know what that language would be.
I think the language already does say that it permits 0% of resident student population eligible to enroll outside of the district. Maybe at
our expense.
our.
Yeah, so
We
like
can we can ask Gordon for language with what you're asking.
Yeah, if it just said that district expense, it's
Right.
not a bad
Yeah.
three sentence,
It
three
would be
words.
great to have Gordon,
Yep.
of course, look at anything we say, but, I'm hearing the same thing that others are,
Mhm.
that, people are gonna read it one way, and if we can't, to tell you the truth, the 300 concerns me too. I see the argument for it, I do. But I think that if I'm a citizen, I read this thing, I'm gonna go, wow, what are they doing? They've got some kind of major plans here, they're gonna, what are they, building new buildings? Or, it's a perception question.
Yeah.
Legally, I know that we're okay, but how are people gonna read this?
Yeah, we don't want to trigger people. We want to have everyone feel, that their rights are being protected, and just have a way to make it really clear to them when they read it that we're not trying to, take away things that they want to do.
We do have a voter's guide that we put out, and we could explain what this does do and what it doesn't do. You have a Facebook Live session, can reiterate that as well. We'll be sending mailers to every home with this information a couple times. Maybe we can probably clarify as much as possible. I'm not saying we don't try to find some clarity within the language. I think you want to be careful what you put in a warrant article. The more language and the mud you put in there, sometimes the changing of the meaning. And so we by no means are wanting to tell families or parents where to send their kids or how to homeschool or how to educate their children. That's their choice. As you stated, it's as simple as, but as it pertains to public school,
In this particular RSA.
in this RSA, that it would just mean that we would not be tuitioning those learners outside, except for cases of CTE, which is already something that we can't change, and also we have policy on a couple other circumstances that can take place with manifest hardship or best interest. But I think it's going to, regardless, the warrant article itself, if there's confusion, we have to do the education prior to and hope that people understand and maybe have that education even as they come in to the voting booth themselves. Not in the voting booths, but as they come in, just to have an understanding of what these articles are. Yeah, what they mean.
At the deliberative session, can these numbers and percentages be changed?
Yes. The only ones that can't be changed are the CBA and the default budget number.
So Article 3, the collective bargaining agreement, or Article 4, the collective bargaining agreement can't be changed. Yeah.
So we need to be very careful that we explain at a level that everyone can understand why, what we're saying about 0%.
Essentially, it keeps the status quo.
I understand. We just have to.
That's maybe a better way to put it. It just means we function the way we do now.
People can
Yeah.
send their children,
No
educate their
impact.
children however.
Zero.
No
current
impact.
situation.
No impact is what it is.
Mhm.
You know,
It's kind of like the tax impact sort of line. No, personal impact is nothing.
All right, let's talk about the 300 students and see if anybody wants to change that. So we're just going to do a voice, not even a vote, simply input. Charlie, do you want to change the 300 student maximum? Okay. Judy?
I think it should be lower.
Lower to what? Give us a number.
100.
To what?
100.
To 100.
Yeah.
Okay. John?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would change it, if I was in charge, I'd change it to 180 or something like that.
Yes. No, that would be okay.
180? Okay.
Why-
Christine?
Can I ask why that's specific of a number?
Well, because it sounds a lot lower than 300, and yet it's still pretty far up there where I don't think we're in danger of having to,
Hit it,
yeah.
yeah.
So my understanding is that all the surrounding districts are also saying 0% of their students can leave?
Yeah.
So we could put any number we want.
Again, perception is important.
Perception is important. I'm inclined to go with a lower number. 100, 180, I don't know.
Give us a number.
182.
182. Got it.
Oh, no, we'll be here all
Chris?
night.
Yeah, I agree that, I think my first thought was, well, what's the harm in keeping it at 300? It really just sets that maximum. And by the way, my understanding is if we left it at 300, it doesn't mean we'd have to accept 300, right? We could,
That's correct.
if a year we decide, yeah, we don't really want to accept anybody because of this and this, because our enrollment was what it was, we wouldn't have to. So from a practical standpoint, I look at it and say, oh, might as well just set it as high as possible, we'll never hit it. But I think perception is important there, and I think setting the lower number, and if we by some chance have to go back, if it is successful someday and we need to go back, I think people would probably approve raising it. So yeah, 100 and whatever.
Come on,
People
give us a
decide.
number.
180.
180.
I'm
All
going
right,
to go
Sandra?
with John's number of 180.
Sandy?
I'm good with the 180 figure also.
Okay. All right. All right. Charlie, Judy, you okay with 180? All right, I'll agree to 180. Cool.
So the rationale is, oops, hold on a second. Let's make sure I'm correct in my thinking.
The rationale is that 300 feels,
So the average of 15 per grade level is what the communication can be, then, is what you're saying. We believe we have space, not necessarily 15 at each grade level, but on average 15 per grade level is what we believe we have
See,
space for.
I don't know,
And-
I would be really careful with that. I'm going to interrupt there.
I think it
When
sounds
we
better than,
looked
why
at-
not 180? That's a number. Right? I mean, have a
No.
reason.
I spent a lot of time as I know you
Mhm.
did too, looking at our enrollment by grade.
Mhm.
And our grades 5 and 6 can't do that. Like, we don't have
Oh, that's
space for
correct.
some of those.
Oh, absolutely.
So I would be very hesitant to say, we need to be as specific as possible to the public of what we can handle and what we can do.
Mhm.
And to say, this is going to average to like 15 per grade, I would hate to, I can't imagine we get that. But I think we do have to be careful how we give an impression to the public.
I was
There's
just-
grades we can't.
I was just saying that to me is how 180 was arrived at.
Okay.
Was that on average, again, not per grade level, we know fourth and fifth can't handle any others. But maybe one group can handle 30, maybe, that, just because why 180? I think that's a legit question.
I
So
think
that was my thought.
Yeah.
When you said 180 was, oh, okay, that's 15 per grade level. Wanted to make sure that was the case, and so that was my thinking.
I guess when I said perception, right,
Mhm.
of the 300 number,
Yep.
what I was thinking is if by putting it on there and saying, oh, we can accept 300 more students, a reaction from the public could be, well, it sounds like you're overstaffed.
Mhm.
Right.
So how about instead of accepting 300 more students, we cut,
Exactly.
Mhm.
10 teachers,
Mhm.
which is
Yeah.
not the case. We
Mhm.
know we've looked at it on a line-by-line basis, every classroom. We know that that isn't the case, but I do think that could be harmful to getting, I think we all want the same thing, to pass this. To me, it's most important as a protective measure. I think setting the number too high could lead to that, accusation back to us that, well, if you have room for 300 more kids at, 20 kids per classroom, how many do you have,
Mhm. Yep. No, I think it's a good
20, 25 teachers that you could
good
get rid of?
conversation. Yeah.
I guess that's my rationale for
Mhm.
wanting a lower number, and I think, I do think saying 15 per class, which is less than a teacher, right?
Mhm.
If you're looking at our average class sizes, they're mostly less than 15, or more than 15.
Mhm.
So it's saying that, we could absorb some, but not that we're overstaffed. So I guess that's my
Mhm.
rationale for having the lower number.
Right, and we haven't done this before, so you want to, show that we're like stepping into it, cautiously. So I just think a smaller number just,
Is 180
It
is
sounds
180
good.
too high?
it might be, I don't know. We want to make sure
Judy
we,
and I liked 100.
I like 100, I think that seems less arbitrary.
As
I mean, you
Chris
could go,
noted,
for instance, 10 per grade level.
and as Chris noted, that thought that comes in of, oh, we must have that availability right now.
Right.
That's not what this means. This means we would have to hire teachers to take in 300 more students. Like, that would, yes, we have some capacity for a couple, but nothing to this effect. And so then how many students would actually pay for a teacher comes into play.
Yeah.
This isn't what we can afford. This is, we would get 80% of ascending district's tuition. So we'd get some income. How many students would that pay for? I mean, every district is different for their money. And so, this is in hope a way of making some income, but there's a cost to it. There's so many vague things in this. There's so many unknowns.
But do we get only their state part? Do we only get the $4,700, or do we get the full, close to $20,000 that it costs to educate?
We get
a student?
80% of the sending district's tuition.
Okay.
So whatever, let's say it's 17,000.
Okay.
It is it.
Let's use 20,000.
Say it again?
Let's use 20.
20.
It's 20,
I say it's
okay.
20,000,
Okay.
then we would get 18,000. as
Okay, so it's
tuition.
not just the state
16.
Am I
portion.
saying that
Okay.
wrong?
16,000.
16,000. We get 16,000. I'm
Got it.
not the math.
It's all good.
So we would get that amount. And
So it would actually cover costs, or close.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, depending on if we have to hire
Right,
staff for it.
right. But trying to hire in the middle of a school year, if you suddenly find out that you're going to have an extra 50 kids, would be so challenging, because then, you're shorthanded.
I mean, that's why you
That's
take a
another
policy.
point,
Yeah.
is that thank you so much for saying that. Open enrollment, especially in the legislation coming out, and what other districts are also doing, are making a point of saying that all open enrollment students have to be designated by July 1st. So thank you for that point. And that might be language we want to put into the warrant article, that it would be part of the policy.
Okay.
It would be definitely part of policy, but that actually is really important, that come October, if you're unhappy in your school, that doesn't mean you can all of a sudden switch to another district simply
Right.
because you felt like it.
Good.
And the district had to pay that. That's part of the budgeting the money and as we come into this. So that July 1st date is important. So thank you. That was an important piece of this as well, having that date of this is when you can actually apply for open enrollment. That was another piece of that. All right. So, do we want to we know that we're going to put this on the ballot. We've all agreed that. Can we table?
Let's just
The
agree on,
details?
let's get the number, and then we can go back and see if we can get some language that will address
Okay.
the concern. Well, I think you gotta get a number so that you can put
Alright.
something in front of.
I'm
the-
going to put 150. How does the board feel about 150?
Great.
So I just want to, I'm looking at Kearsarge's language, draft language, I guess, and they're saying open enrollment is only available to their high school students, first of all. And they have set the limit of students who could come in at 30.
Who's this again?
Kearsarge.
Kearsarge.
So, I mean, if it is true that we actually might have local school districts that are going to go revert to half-day kindergarten, so my goodness me. There might be families who want to come from kindergarten, which I hadn't really thought about. But otherwise, I think for the most part, it is going to be high school, middle school and high school, where kids want to. So I don't know if we want to set our parameters to just say middle, high school, or if we're open to all the grades. And if we are limiting it to middle and high school, should we lower the number a little bit? But I think.
I would opt to maintain as much flexibility as you can,
Okay.
because I don't think that there's one person sitting at this table that knows what the circumstances are going to be in March when this comes before the voters.
I would agree with Charlie in that because of families. So in this scenario, we're not just accepting, saying one student can come of a family. We could very likely have families coming over. And so it might be because a student really wants to be here from the high school, but that could involve getting their third grader and their kindergartner here as well.
And once they do enter, if they're in a school district through open enrollment, even if after that, the school district says, no, we're done with this, we're not letting people out, those people are grandfathered into your school district as long as they choose to be in there.
It's not a
So,
one-year.
yeah.
Okay.
It's not a
Yeah.
one-year issue. So
Okay.
when you allow an individual in, you're allowing them in.
Okay.
Yeah, unless other features of whatever policy come up and about, there's a violation of that, then that's something to think about. We use the most flexible language possible, is what we're trying to do. Yeah. I think the board has valid concerns around the number, but we did think up to, got you to where it was. It wasn't, we're going to accept 300, and policy has to decide how we go about choosing things. Whether we're going to allow, like at a certain number, another teacher will be, like you discussed, will be hired or whatever, or what can you
I
do?
know, and I
Maybe
don't
policy is going to be for, right now, it's going to be, we're only going to bring in people up to 300, probably not 300, obviously, but that we have capacity for already without, raising staff or something to that effect.
This is taking
But
way too much oxygen.
I know.
it's a good discussion, and but a number that you're comfortable with, because I can sense that we're not all comfortable with that 300 number. I think getting a number that you're comfortable with as a board, the most important thing is that you can voice that to the community during the next couple sessions and feel good about it.
How do we feel about 150?
Anything, if we
Anything.
just move on.
Yeah, because it's icy out, and we're both worried about getting home.
Wait till we get to policy.
Yeah, but no, it's really icy, so.
All right, Sandra, how do you feel about 150?
150 sounds good to me.
Okay, everybody in?
We're in.
Keeping it at
We're in.
zero? Keeping it at zero for people leaving? 0%? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, you have our numbers. All right, so, yes, John?
Could you ask Sandra if it's icy out?
Thank you. No, because we don't divulge things like that. All right, Article 6.
Do we need to vote on this?
Well, I think you voted on the other ones,
Okay.
so it's a for now vote. It can
Okay.
change.
For
Aye.
now, Article 5. Thank you, Charlie. Judy?
Aye.
John? Christine? Chris?
Aye.
Sandra?
Aye.
Lisa, aye. Thank you, 700. Article 6 is establishing a capital reserve fund, and we were going to place 25,000. Charlie?
I don't think we need this warrant article. Number one is because it's addressing a one-time issue. Number two, $25,000 isn't a drop in a bucket. And number three, it's another capital reserve fund that we have to keep track of. So I don't know, we had an issue. If we want to try to avoid that issue, we certainly should be putting more than $25,000 in there. And we're taking it from the end of the year surplus, which is another issue that I have. We should be asking voters to either fund it or not fund it, instead of saying, well, if we got the money at the end of the year, we're going to put something in there. So it's just me, but I'm against this warrant article completely.
Okay. Judy?
I don't have an opinion on it, so I'll just abstain. I don't know.
That's fair. Okay. John?
I also don't see it as necessary.
You also, I'm sorry?
I don't see this article as necessary.
Okay. All right. Christine?
Just so, can I just?
Not just yet. I would like to
Okay.
get everybody's input before, okay?
Sure.
So I believe that a warrant article like this, if it passed, a trust fund like this would allow us to offset any spikes in insurance.
That's what I wanted to say.
We did have this one-time issue that hopefully is a one-time issue, but we don't know that. It could repeat again. We don't have that many options. But so I personally believe that this could help us offset big spikes in insurance costs.
Okay. Chris?
Yeah, I think I agree with Christine. I know that 25,000 doesn't do much, and but at the same time, I think it establishes it. Shows we're forward thinking. If there could be a time in the future we may want to appropriate more, that would be good. I just don't see a lot of downside in having it on here.
Okay. Sandra?
So this article is similar to one that the town's going to do, that it would offset any big spikes in the insurance. So some years when the insurance went down, people got money back. Well, instead of giving them the money back, put it in this fund in case there's a hike in it. That was the purpose.
All right. Ruben?
Yeah, I was just wanting to, you can decide what you want, whether you want it or not, but just wanting to clarify that a couple things. One, if we did have this one-time situation, I hope it's a one-time situation that won't be repeated. We're certainly trying to take measures to change that. We do have all of our information to a broker, and in 2 weeks we should find out some more information about that, because we don't want to leave that up to chance. So I think there's other things we have to do to maintain, to help ourselves from catastrophes like what took place. But the other piece of this is that it's for the purpose of over time building up money in this, so that when we do have those spikes that are bigger than what is typical, that the district is protected for that. So when you're budgeting, I'm looking at the language now. I think maybe the words up to 25,000 isn't, no? You don't think so, Carrie? Because it says it's being raised from the fund balance.
Yes, sorry, I did shake my head. I'm not sure that we can when we're first establishing it. I could check with legal counsel, but I thought he had stated that when we're first establishing it, we have to do a sum specific, but I will double check with him on that.
Okay, that would be good to know. You're right, 25,000 is not going to do something. The point was to get it started. Yeah.
As a practical matter, all right, if we're going to do this for benefits, then we should be doing it for utilities as well, because we get spikes in fuel prices and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
So if the whole intent is to provide a buffer and to level things off, we need to have more than just one reserve fund for things like benefits. We need to have it for anything that would have volatility to it, which includes utilities.
I don't disagree with what Charlie stated. I think getting one of them started, because this is more, I mean, healthcare is a big issue in general, and I think right now it's obviously in the
big concern I have is it's another reserve fund where we've got money tied up sitting there waiting for something, when we could be using that money for something else.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's valid.
Okay. And Carrie, thank you for that message. I remember that. I think I remember that you can't start a line item like this from waiting on funds. You actually have to get it through taxpayer. I checked with the council, but I think that I remember that as well. But
we can use fund balance. I just think it has to be a specific amount.
a specific, can't be a general thing. It has to be
I believe.
Okay. It can't be an up to. Okay. All right. All right, so let's say yes or no to putting this as is on the ballot. And again, we don't have to be on, we're going to take a majority vote, and this is still going before the hearing. So Charlie?
I don't want this on the ballot.
To putting Article 6 toward the budget hearing. You're a no?
No.
Okay, Judy?
I don't have an opinion. Abstain.
Abstain?
Yeah.
Okay, John?
I'm in favor of it, based on what arguments I've heard.
So yes?
Yes.
Okay, Christine?
Yes.
Yes. Chris?
Yes.
Thank you. Chris says yes. And Sandra?
Yes.
Okay, and I say yes, so that is 5-1-1 to put Article 6 toward the budget hearing. And we will continue. Okay, Article 7, this is voting to raise and appropriate $350,000 to be placed in the capital reserve fund. And is everybody okay with putting this forward to the budget hearing? Again, we'll start with Charlie.
Do we have identified where these expenses are going to go?
Yeah, 350.
I support it as long as when we present the warrant article, we've got.
This is where it's going to go.
It's going to go for the tracks, it's going to go for windows.
Windows, yep.
Yeah.
Good. All right. So yes, Charlie?
Yes.
Judy?
And some
Yes.
doors.
John?
Yes.
Christine?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Sandra?
Yes.
And I say yes, 700. Okay.
And when we word where things are going, if we can lump together these safety windows and doors as being for safety, if we can
Yeah.
more and more we use that word that we're trying to secure these buildings, the better.
Well, safety, and for the in the case of windows, also for efficiency.
Yeah.
Yep.
Efficiency, right.
You have kind of high efficiency systems that aren't going to give you exactly what you want if it's not properly insulated or better insulated.
All right. Moving on to policies, if I might take the stage for a minute.
Mhm.
Okay, so I spent a stupid amount of time over break going through each of the policies to make sure that they matched with our current policies, getting rid of extraneous language. And the first one we're going to look at, these are for second reading, so I really hope you guys took a look because I'd like to vote on these tonight. The majority of them are mandated policies due to new Ed 306 and new RSAs. This is an annual review of policy DFA of our investments. And so we are going to go roll call vote for each of these. Any questions on policy DFA? All right, then we'll vote to approve it. Yes.
Aye.
So, yeah. Charlie, Judy?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Christine?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Sandra?
Aye.
And I say aye, thank you. All right, some of these I am going to have discussion on. Policy EBBCA. I kept in from the New Hampshire School Board Association their revised dates and the special note. It has been recorded and replaces the formerly tri-coded. These 3 policies are being rescinded for this single policy. So NHSBA did a lot of filtering and just making sure that everything was in place. There are some new AED placement notices, and so where they should be done. I highlighted this one because we have a choice to make right now. Training and use of the AEDs. AEDs should, when possible, be administered by those employees designated as anticipated responders by the principal in consultation with the school nurse. Schools that include any of grades 6 through 12 shall have an individual trained in CPR, supervised, organized school-sponsored sports activities in which pupils of the school are participating. In the absence of such trained personnel, other persons may administer the AED provided they do so in good faith. That is a sentence that we do not have to have, which is why it's highlighted. If we scroll down, here's their note. This RFA provides immunity for persons who, in good faith and without compensation, administer an AED. But it is unclear from that language, this is RSA language, it's unclear from that language whether the without compensation provision would apply to employees of the school district if they administer it while they're on the clock. Districts that wish to avoid that ambiguity may instead replace with the following. AEDs will only be administered by those employees designated by the principal in consultation with the school nurse. Employees will only be authorized after they have successfully received and completed appropriate training in CPR and AED use, provided by the school nurse or his or her designee, or from another source acceptable to the school nurse. So, I would recommend us adopt this bulleted point in great part because the majority, if not all, of school staff need to be, I'm not saying that right, not all, but a vast majority of school staff are CPR AED trained, and I can't remember how mandatory that was, but that's always an option for people. And this would protect our employees where in another case, if something happened when somebody was randomly using an AED without training, the RSA doesn't say that they're protected if they're being paid, if they're on school time. So there is an ambiguity here that's a concern. So I personally would recommend that we put in this bulleted point and want your input on that.
I don't know, if someone's dying and they need the AED, I would hate to feel that someone was thinking twice, you know? I mean, if someone needs their life saved, I mean, I understand the legal aspects of it, but I don't know. It's a hard situation.
Anyone else with input?
As a nurse, I'm not going to agree to that. An AED is pretty simple to use. Any kid could use it. And that's what's going to save somebody.
Thank you.
So you're saying keep the first sentence,
Yes,
be in good faith?
yes.
Okay. Let's do, this is going to be important to personnel, so let's do a roll call vote on this. And then we'll do a roll call vote to approve the policy. So this is for keeping in good faith is a yes vote. Charlie?
Abstain.
Judy?
Yes.
Against? Keeping in good faith?
Keep in good faith. If someone wants to do this in good faith, I think, I agree with what Sandra said. Someone should be able to use the AED without any hesitation. So I want to keep it that as long, if there is no one trained available, then another person can administer the AED provided they do so in good faith.
Okay, so you want to keep this,
I want
so
to
you're
keep
a yes to this?
that, yeah.
Great, okay.
Yeah.
All right. John?
Yeah, yes.
Yes to keeping in good faith. Christine?
Guess I'm a little confused. Because it sounds like it's doing two, there's this sentence and then there's the bullet point. It almost sounds like they're doing two different things. And the bullet point does not prevent anyone from acting in good faith.
It does. AEDs will only be administered by those employees designated by the principal in consultation with the school nurse. So it does. It does say only, AEDs may only be used in the school by people who have been trained.
So one way or another, people are open to be sued because if there's an incident and we stop a person from using the AED because they're not an employee, that sounds pretty risky to me. So I'm not really certain. I feel like I need Sandy's says to keep. Sandy's is the nurse. She is the one with the medical experience, and she seems to think that the first statement is the best. I guess I have to go with that because I'm not CPR certified. I do not know how to use an AED, so it's a little bit out of my comfort zone. So I guess I'll go with what Sandy says.
Go with in good faith?
In good faith.
Okay. Chris?
Yeah, I agree. I certainly appreciate Sandy's view on it. That's my understanding as well, that these are very easy to use, almost automated, and won't work unless it's necessary. And I wouldn't want people to hesitate. I think student and staff safety comes first, and I wouldn't want people to hesitate, in trying to save a life. So just keep it in there.
Okay. And Sandra?
Thank you, Chris. And I want it in good faith.
In good faith. Okay. And I will approve that as well. So approving policy EBBCA, Charlie?
Aye.
Judy?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Christine?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Sandy?
Aye.
And I say aye, passes 700. EHLB, another fun new one. This is subpoenas involving school districts, something new that we need now. And so this policy simply gives some guidelines on what staff can do should they get a subpoena, and gives some pretty detailed work that their NHSBA lawyers did. So I'm really grateful that they're dealing with this and not us trying to do this on our own. I think, honestly, our subscription to the New Hampshire School Board Association pays for itself a million times over, the amount of work they do to protect us. So approval of EHLB, Charlie?
Aye.
Judy?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Christine?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
And Sandra?
Aye.
And I say aye, passes 700. If there's any, I'm just going to move through these as much as I can. If there's any discussion people want, please interrupt me. GBEBB is next. Priority required by law. This has been revised a couple times. This sample was updated to reflect the enactment of contents HB 231, which requires a policy that prohibits staff from transporting students to medical appointments and the like without parental permission, absent an emergency. The classification was changed from recommended to required. Revisions include a dissemination provision, definition of covered staff, and additional information relating to reporting of violations. So that is all here. And any, Charlie?
Aye.
Judy?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Christine?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
And Sandy?
Aye.
And I say aye, passes 700. We are rescinding these 3 policies per the EBBCA that I talked about, so I'm not even going to say the names at this point. So do we have a, yes, thank you, John, thank you, Charlie, Judy?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Christine?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Sandy?
Aye.
And I say aye to rescinding those 3 policies. Policy IC, school year and school year calendar. This is a recommended policy, and it affects graduation dates according to CTE language. So it was just a good thing to have in. It really doesn't change a great deal of what we're doing in any form. It simply gives a little more language on inclement weather. But I do need the school calendar will be developed by the superintendent and submitted to the board by a date. And the board should approve the final calendar by a date. Usually that date is in January, as I'm remembering it. So I asked Ruben, when I sent this to you, do you have a recommended date that we can approve?
Yeah, we don't typically have that calendar done until February with the other 2 schools that we work with. We would be in January. So, and then an approval by March would be a good idea, no later than April. That would be the last, like, people start to, email me from the community as to what our dates are by the end of March to see if we have anything so that they can plan their, vacations for the following year. But, so I would say, the board should approve by the first school board in April would be like that would be a last type of effort. We should, as a practice, do that by March. And so,
Well, could we put dates in of submitted to the board by February 15th and final calendar by March 31st?
yeah, I think that is a reasonable time frame.
Okay, so then.
And we can always ask for an extension if something pops up.
Okay,
Yeah.
so then, Wendy, do you have that? Can you just jot that down? So the first date will be February 15th. And we'll just say February, I don't think we need to put a date, a year in. We don't have to review this every year. And then March 31st for the second day. Great. All right. All in favor, Charlie?
Aye.
Judy?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Christine?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Sandy?
Aye.
Lisa says aye. Ooh, we're zooming. All right. These policy IHCD and LEB are concurrent. They're the exact same policy going into 2 different spots because they deal with they really affect 2 different areas of our policy database, so we wanted to make sure people could find them. And this is a priority required by law, so I hope that you guys have gone through it. It just gives some more language, and I did check that we have the current policies they mentioned. Specifically policy IK. So yeah, there's very little new here. I think that Ed 306, I believe it is, that this is affected by. Let me see. Choose and maintain one. Yeah, we're keeping both. And it was updated to reflect HB 193, which limits the amount of state funding for dual and concurrent enrollment funding to 4 courses per academic year for each student, and additional changes to Section A relating to other advanced coursework opportunities. So this is an important one for guidance to keep an eye on as far as the funding for the enrollment coursework. So All in favor, Charlie?
Aye.
Judy?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Christine? Aye. Chris?
Aye.
Sandra?
Aye.
And I say aye, 700. Policy JCA, change of school assignment, priority required by law. The November revisions include complete restructuring of Section A, the best interest determinations, with specific changes to reflect the passage of 2025's SB 97, which now requires approving in-district best interest requests subject to a few conditions. Addition of a definition for approved private school, removal of some references to changing classroom assignments within the same school, and changing the title of the policy. Okay. So Charlie?
Aye.
Judy?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Christine?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
And Sandra?
Aye.
And I say aye, that passes. JLCJA, emergency plan for sports-related injuries protocols. I feel like this comes up constantly, priority required by law. New note on it, that school boards with any of grades 4 to 12 approve the plan, I'm looking for the revision history. Revised to reflect additional requirements for sports injury emergency action plan as required by passage of HB 763. And more information on AEDs. Okay? And approved, Charlie?
Aye.
Judy?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Christine?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Sandy?
Aye.
And I say aye, passes 700. We're almost through it. Policy BBBC. I did this one, right? Okay. All right. This is a new policy for us. It is a recommended policy. Board member or district officer resignation. So this is simply a best guideline. Should we have somebody that we need to fill a vacancy for, or the language to how to resign. So we'll just go through. It's just a guideline. So in favor, Charlie?
Aye.
Judy?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Christine?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Sandy?
Aye.
And I say aye, passes 700. We're on to next public comments. Let's stick the policy back up there. Well, because I'm looking at
Yeah.
public comments, board members, and
Yeah,
adjournments.
oh, okay. I was like, wow.
We might do this by 9 o'clock, except I have some board members. Okay.
Do you want me to put that up, or are you able to put the public
Oh, I
comment
can.
up? Yeah, because you have that, yep.
Okay, anybody sitting in our audience? Take your time, Alicia.
The only person in your audience right now. Alicia Spennerton, Jaffrey. I'm going to try and put my thoughts together in a way that makes sense, but I was really thinking about the conversation specifically related to deliberative session, and some of the board comments around keeping things really brief. I just hope that the board is also really prepared to counter any misinformation that is more than likely to come up at this meeting. I think, a lot of the discussion that you had was around these videos being out there, these meetings happening, distributing information. But what we know from last year is that there are pockets of voters within our community who choose not to access that information, and then show up at deliberative session to participate at the last moment. And so I think that the board has a responsibility to be really prepared to offer facts rather than just pointing people to information that sort of exists in the ether. And I think also to that point, I'm really hopeful that the board is thinking about opportunities for really showing their defense and support of the budget that the board is putting forward of outside of school board meetings. Maybe things like articles in the newspaper demonstrating your support and your knowledge of the fiscal responsibility for the budget that is being put forward, engaging with people on Facebook or other forms of social media. But I think it's really the responsibility of the board to not just represent this budget in board meetings, but really to be out there interfacing with the community and showing your support in any way possible. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Alicia. And to that, let me just speak to that real quick. I did get a number for the voters at the last deliberative. There were 319 votes at last year's deliberative. So we were talking about the capacity of the Pratt. There were 319 votes at the last deliberative. So we should have capacity just fine.
Nothing online.
Nothing online. Okay.
Can I,
Yeah.
yeah, I just would like to thank Alicia for her comments, and I would like to point out that in a one-on-one conversation with the superintendent a couple of weeks ago, there was a suggestion, I don't remember if, I think it was Ruben's suggestion, that we should be meeting with the Working Together Jaffrey Ringe to talk about strategy for communication as we come up on these, the meeting and the vote. So, and it may not be possible to get all 7 of us there. I don't know how that could work. But if at some point, if your group is, willing to participate, Alicia, that would be potentially a good idea.
So do you mean as a board meeting? Because we couldn't be all together unless it was a board meeting.
Right. So it would have to be posted if it was going to be a board meeting. I suppose if it was a smaller group, it wouldn't necessarily. But, the logistics of it, I'm really not 100% sure of. I did contact a group from Concord after discussions with several people. The Reaching Higher New Hampshire, no, that's not the one. The group out of Concord that has been involved in school affairs and trying to get the community of Concord to, become more aware of what's at stake in their schools, and they mounted a successful campaign 2 years ago because they had similar concerns. But there are a lot of issues that I think the information is out there. People have mentioned we have some great videos thanks to our staff and to our superintendent. And if people were willing to put in the hours to listen to those things, that would be great. But it's not practical for most people, to put in those kind of hours. And we're looking to reach a lot of different communities, parents, but also older people who either don't have children or whose children went through the schools decades ago and who care, but they need to be informed about what's at stake, what the constraints are that we have, and I think we can do that, but it won't happen unless we come up with a plan and implement it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay. All right. We have, I see your calendar up. So we have a budget hearing on January 15th in 10 days. We have a school board meeting after that on January, I might as well give this back to you here. Let me take this off.
Wait, hold on.
There you go. All right. So we have a, January 15th is the budget meeting. We have a regular school board meeting after that on the 26th. Is that right?
Yep.
It's a Monday. Yep,
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
right there.
I don't know if, John, and board, would it be appropriate to ask the Working Together for Jaffrey Ringe to come to that meeting and talk with us about the upcoming deliberative and the work that they've done this year, and get input? This has been a true community group that's been very active all year. Would that be what does the board feel about inviting a private group to come and speak? Thoughts? Anyone?
I think it's a great idea. I mean, that's what public comment is for. We have, we can't require people to be there, but we can't prevent them from being there, and they're certainly welcome, and it's part of the process that the state encourages.
Right, but this would be more than public comment. This would be inviting this group to come in and share their basically year in review, and like Alicia just did, concerns about how we move forward. So Charlie, you had...
Yes, we have public comments set aside for that type of activity. Every week we have that. So that, I mean, there's nothing that would prevent them from coming and expressing their views at any time.
Right, but this is more of that kind of conversation that John's
And that's
talking
what I'm
about.
concerned about, is I don't think the board should be separating certain organizations out and provide favoritism to those organizations and not other organizations as well. Okay? I would leave the initiative with the organization to come and discuss things that I think are important in that comments section.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, and I see Charlie's point of view, but I view it differently. I would say that if a group wants to come and talk to us, they can request to be on the agenda. There's no reason we can't have an item where there's an opportunity for back and forth. Generally, public comment is, not meant to be a back and forth kind of interaction.
Yeah, okay. So we'll leave it in their court, should that group wish to be placed on the agenda. Okay, all right. Hiya.
Are we still in public comment currently? I got one raised hand on land.
Sure.
Okay. I'll let Eleanor speak.
Yeah, we're not in board matters yet.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Hi, Eleanor Alborn Sue here, Jaffrey. I also work for the district. I'm also a member of Working Together for Jaffrey Ringe. Just to let you know, many of us do attend your meetings and we do submit comments. Thank you, Alicia, for your comments this evening. One of the things that I would really urge the board to look at, and the district in general, is the usability of your website. It is very difficult for the public to find information on the website. And, if you just had the ability to make things more accessible, there could be lots of things posted in more accessible ways on the website. So I urge you to look at that for the future. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I think that is something that is being worked on. It's difficult without the funds to do that. That's a costly
Starting in March,
thing.
that is being looked at through the company that we currently have our website with. The costs are minimal, comparatively speaking to obviously starting everything from scratch. And we have some, agreements with them. But this has to be done anyway because of ADA compliance needs for our website. We're an institution that needs to do this by a specific time frame, so this is an opportunity for us to improve that. So that's very helpful information, Eleanor. Thank you.
Okay.
That, of course, will not be in time for the deliberative session or probably the vote.
All right, any further public comments? Good discussion. Just in board matters, I just had a quick thing. January's hit the legislative body, and there are a couple of hearings that are pretty important to kind of have on our radar. I believe, this week, I think on the 8th, there's a couple for the Education Committee, but on the 22nd, there's hearings on modifying on many things with the Senate Education Finance Committee. But a couple in particular, and one in particular. SB 582 is modifying the base cost of an adequate education, and 9 senators have put forward text that will be heard that day to update the cost of the adequate education from $4,100, the current, to $7,356, which I believe is what the Supreme Court asked for. And so to have that number of senators is actually unusual, backing this. Usually that's like 1 or 2 or 3 maybe that you'd see. But that hearing on the 22nd will be an important one to have a voice in for people who contact their senators and their legislative bodies to provide input and to certainly be hearing. So again, this is a hearing. It's not anything final. It's simply, really putting the conversation before. There's many, countless number of bills right now that are both pro and con for education. Very important to be watching for these. So I do recommend people go on to specifically Legiscan, legiscan.com, is a nonpartisan body that puts together easy language, and it puts together the calendar for showing the status of bills and who sponsored them, gives you the full language, gives you summaries of the language, and tells you when they're coming up. So I do recommend everybody start watching that as January starts rolling, because there's a lot more coming our way. Okay. We'll take a motion to adjourn.
I will make that motion.
Christine?
Second.
Thank you, Judy. Charlie?
What? Aye.
Thank you. Judy?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Christine? Aye. Chris?
Aye.
Sandy?
Aye.
I say aye. Thank you very much.
If you get a phone call from me tonight, John, I'm stuck.
If I get a phone call?
Yeah, if I get stuck someplace.
Oh, you bet.